Hello, and today you join us in West Cornwall in Penzance. Beautiful summer's day, very hot, very busy, and plenty of tourists and holidaymakers milling about. What a lot of them aren't probably aware is behind me is a building that's now flats and a Thai restaurant, which in the late 70s played host to a gig by probably the most notorious and revolutionary rock band there has ever been. And that of course was the Sex Pistols, who played here on the 1st of September 1977 as part of the Spots tour. A series of secret gigs they had to go under because of local pressure on councils who were exerting influence on venues so they couldn't play the Pistols. Went under a collection of aliases: Tax Exiles, the Hamsters, Acne Rabble, and they turned up here under the guise of an international band of mystery repute. The gig cost £1, but nobody knew who they were. The owner at the time basically said, you pay your money and take your chances. So we're going to have a nip across to this venue. The road's a bit busy, so you'll have to bear with me. So a bit more about the Pistols gig. If anybody goes on YouTube and watches what became the official video for Holidays in the Sun, it contains segments, along with the Berlin footage, the segments of a live gig. And they are what Julian Temple filmed here in Penzance. He filmed, he's released around 4 songs from that gig to be seen as live footage, what he released a few years ago. And they actually used some of the footage in the gig segment of the Holidays in the Sun video. It's the one where Sid spits into the camera and whatnot. So this was the club. It was called the Winter Garden, or the Garden, or Wints to locals. Plethora of big bands played here. Queen, I think probably one of the first Cornish dates, and they came back here and played. Thin Lizzy, AC/DC, The Police, and countless others. Elvis Costello, and a very famous gig, a double header, the Ramones and Talking Heads, which has gone down in legendary folklore back in the day. But the most infamous gig, of course, was the Sex Pistols on the 1st of September. Now, the hotel, the Union Hotel in Penzance, and there is quite a number of pictures taken from that gig and in the hotel rooms by a very young Dennis Morris. Now, he was given access to the band through Johnny Rotten, and on the live footage, if you watch it, you can see him at the side of the stage taking pictures. And a lot of the pictures he did release into his book Destroy, which, along with Bob Gruen, were probably the 2 most famous photographers of the Pistols. And both of them had inside access and were basically allowed to tour with the band and take personal pictures of them. Got to be friends with the band. So quite a few pictures were taken here by Dennis Morris and feature in the book, and quite a lot in the hotel. Sadly in the hotel room, so you can't really tell what room or whatever. But this is along the 6 months after Sid joined, so even though his bass playing was still rudimentary at best, he wasn't in the dreadful state he ended up in 5 months later in America. He could still play to an extent, very basically, but it was a presence on stage, and by that time, when these guys were around, the music had kind of taken a backseat to the controversies. Although the gigs, when you watch it, they must have been fantastic to be there with the crowd so close to the stage and within touching distance, and it really kind of caught them at the zenith when with Sid around them times. They did a few more later tours around Britain, obviously finishing up at Ivanhoe's with a Christmas gig, but it was basically the American tour that did it for Rotten. He couldn't take any more. The band, with the pressures, at the end of the day, they were 20-year-old kids, and all this pressure had basically taken its toll on the band, and obviously Sid's drug use and abuse, self-destruction, sadly. So we're just going to go across the road and try and get bear with me, try and get a bit of a wider angle for you. But when the club finished as the Winter Gardens, it changes into another name and hosted Dexter's Merry Runners, UB40, U2, all played at this strange small venue that's still here today, the building anyway, but holds so much history. And sadly there's no, what I can say anyway, there's no plaque or anything, which you find with these. I'm going to do a series of videos hopefully about where the Pistols played around the UK. I've had a quick look a year or two ago, and venues that are still music venues are literally, you can count on one hand. Venues that the building is still there are quite few as well, which is always nice when you get something like this and the building's still there, and you can at least come and see where all these legendary bands played back in the day. So I hope you've enjoyed the little video on Penzance, and we'll hopefully do some more for you around the area. But yeah, stick on Holidays in the Sun on YouTube, and that's where that took place. Glad, hope you enjoyed it, and see you again soon.